Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to Andrew's Life. I hope everyone's doing great today. I just want to have a conversation with you guys. I noticed that there's been a growing number of men that are around my age, some maybe a little older, a few maybe a tad bit younger, that are single and they consider themselves to be an introvert, like I consider myself to also be an introvert. And, many of them have been coming on this channel. I mean, they've been coming on YouTube and other social media platforms claiming that they're okay with being by themselves. They're good with not having any friends. They're good with not having that significant other in their life. And me, myself, I've even made videos like that about myself too. But on this video, say the quiet part out loud. I want to share what I believe many of us introverts are really saying when we say those kind of things. Because I think it's important that people know that about us for several reasons. And I'm going to use myself mainly as an example throughout this video. Now, I know for me, I'm pretty sure for many of us who are introvert, I mean, I'll start with myself. Now, I know for me, uh, I believe that it's actually good for our mental health to have at least one or two friends that live within an hour of wherever we live. And I believe it's also good for our mental health to have that special someone that you find attractive, that, you may care about them at some point. That you can, you can sit down, you can conversate with, you can, share. You can share a movie with. You can go and grab a bite to eat with them. You can go spend time at their house. They can come to your house and spend some time with you. Now, I know, everyone's got their preferences when it comes to dating, whether it be, but I know for me, it would be nice for me to have someone of the opposite sex that was regularly in my life. Now, I'm not saying that I want to get married. I'm not saying that I want to raise kids because I definitely don't. The whole idea of marriage freaks me the hell out. It's not even anything that appeals to me at this point in my life. Having, taking care of kids, that definitely does not appeal to me. I'm gonna just keep it real. It just doesn't. But, and I'm pretty sure there's, for many of other men out here who are introverts, that they may have said at some point that they're okay with being by themselves and not having a special somebody in their life. Now, I'm pretty sure, like a man like myself, I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm pretty sure if somebody like me was, let's say we was at the grocery store, we was doing our shopping, and we ran into a woman that, we found attractive, and they found us attractive right back. We sparked up a conversation, short talk, all that good stuff. Now, I'm pretty confident that most of you men would probably would probably suggest that you exchange phone numbers. Or if she were to suggest to you, hey, let's exchange phone numbers and let's hang out sometime. Most of us would probably, provided that we found her attractive and she wasn't on some stupid shit, we would probably exchange phone numbers and, it do what it do. Most of us would. I'm gonna just keep it real. Now, what I'm thinking is the real reason why that many of us have stated that we're good with being by ourselves is not necessarily because we want to be by ourselves. It's because that, well, it's for several reasons, and I'll do my best to elaborate on some of them right now. I mean, in no particular order. Now, I know for me, I am very set in my ways. I like things like in my house. I like things a certain way, and when they're not that way, I get real frustrated. And I live my life a certain way. The way I live my life is not typical, I would say. Like for an example, you know, if me and a woman were to talk about traveling, I'm pretty confident that her idea of traveling would be a lot different than mine. Like her idea of traveling might be okay. We're gonna go somewhere. We're gonna spend a night in a hotel. We're gonna probably hit up a few nice restaurants. We're gonna probably have a little something alcoholic to sip on at some point, and we're gonna buy some souvenirs. We're gonna be spending some money, basically. As for my idea of a vacation is, I load up my minivan. I got my pet kitty. I take her with me, and I go somewhere, and I do a little bit of sightseeing. I might go to a local park and walk around for a little bit. Maybe I might go to a couple of venues that don't cost a lot of money. And if I do end up going out to eat, it's gonna be to a local restaurant to where I can eat a meal for less than $25. Or for the most part, I'm not gonna eat out. I'll just go to the local grocery store, buy the ingredients, and I'll cook my own meal using a propane stove. That's my idea of a vacation. So I know for many women, our ideas of a vacation is not going to match. And I know if I go off of her idea of traveling and we stick with the idea every time we travel, I could potentially, uh, well, if I'm not careful, I could potentially go broke. Like rather than having money for retirement, rather than having money to do home repairs that may need to be done at some point, rather than having money to do repairs for my vehicles or ultimately buy another vehicle when that time comes, a lot of that money is going to be spent on vacations, which I refuse to do because I think that's irresponsible. I'm not saying that there's no women that's out here that might share some of my frugal ways, but it appears to me that women like that are few and far in between. And I think for many other men who are introvert, when they say they're good at being by themselves, they feel the same way. There may be a few women that might rock with them on their beliefs, but those kind of women are few and far in between. And secondly, when it comes to even uh, finding that woman, I mean, now I don't really go looking, so to speak. I mean, I do admit when I was younger, I used to, but as I got older, I got more important things in my life going on. I got more important things in my life to do. I got goals, and I don't go looking, so to speak. My philosophy is I live my life. I be my authentic self, and if I run into that special someone, cool, great, wonderful. If I don't, then it is what it is. So, when many of us men who are introvert, who are single, of course, when we make a statement of we're good with being by ourselves, we don't need nobody. Like I said, it's not even that we don't need nobody because I think for at least the majority of us, even though some of us are introvert, I think for the majority of us, to have that special someone that you can, spend some time with, like once or twice every week. I think that's good. I think it's good for our mental health, and I think it's a good thing for a man to have that someone. In my case, it would be someone of the opposite sex to spend some time with. But many of us, like for myself, for example, like I said, I'm set in my ways, and there's a certain way that I desire to live my life, and there's certain beliefs that I got that might differ than the beliefs of other people. And we realize that about ourselves. So realizing those traits about ourselves, some of us realize that we might be a little different than the average person. So with that being said, it might be a little harder for some of us to find that special someone. And another thing is, you got a lot of women that are my age in their mid 40s, even some that are a little older in their 50s, that they still desire to get married. Some even desire to take care of kids, which that's a whole other conversation. But some desire to even take care to have kids. But at the minimum, they still desire to get married. And some of them will even tell you point blank, unless there's going to be a marriage down the road, they're not going to want to spend no time just simply casually dating. Now, I've always been the kind of man that, I'm not going to beat around the bush for these kind of women. I'm going to tell them straight up. If they ask me the question about marriage, I'm going to tell them straight up. I have no desire to get married. I have no desire to marry. And yes, the dating is going to be on a casual level. As bad as it sounds, as terrible as it sounds, I have no desire to lie. I'd rather keep it 100%. I'd rather be transparent. That way, it's only right and it's fair. That way she can make the right choices for herself. Because to me, it's not fair that a man tags a woman along and he acts like one day, yeah, he's going to marry her and everything like that, knowing good and well that day will never come. And here she is believing in something that will never happen. And then as time goes by, resentment is going to set in because she's going to be thinking, okay, you done wasted X amount of years of my time. When she could have went with somebody else and they would have gave her what she was looking for in the first place. Now I know there's some men that they play games like that. Me, I don't got time for it. I just rather keep it 100, keep it honest, and then she can make the appropriate decisions for her life. And secondly, if once I tell a woman what my intentions are and she's good with that, okay, cool. We're gonna do what it do. She knows what time it is, and everybody's gonna be on the same page. Which I'd much rather have that kind of a relationship with a woman than to have a relationship with a woman to where I always gotta either outright lie or I gotta sit around and tell a bunch of half truths. I ain't got time for that. So realizing that that's the kind of relationship I'm looking for, I understand. And other men that might be looking for that kind of a relationship, many of them understand that, it might be a little harder to attract that kind of woman. It might be a little harder to attract that special woman. That's what I meant to say, or that special someone. And then I know a lot of people are probably thinking, okay, well, I can stand to lose a little bit of weight, and yes, I can, and I'm working on it. And and yes, it definitely will help the situation. It will. Now, with that being said, I've also, there's also a lot of men who are way bigger than I am. I mean, I'm talking they're way fatter than me, but they still manage to get women. They get women just fine. They good on their game. You know what I'm saying? And they're fatter than me. So I also think it's about personality. Now I do admit that. I mean, I told you guys several months ago that I had Asperger's, and I even did a few videos about that. So realizing I have Asperger's, I also understand that sometimes with having Asperger's, sometimes that could make a relationship awkward. And there's other men out here that might be single and they're introverts, and they realize that they got certain characteristics in their personality might be considered a little different or just downright strange. And some of them realize that, and that's another reason why some of us, when we say we're good at being by ourselves, we understand that it might be a while before we find that special someone. Some of us may never find that special someone. And if we don't, we gotta be okay with enjoying our own company and being by ourselves. And I believe when many of us say that we're good with being by ourselves, we're good with staying single, that's really what we're saying. I mean, now you got certain men that, okay, they got their beef with women and they hate women, they can't stand women. But I would say the majority of us men who are introverts, we're not saying that we're good being by ourselves because we hate women. We don't have any beef against women. We're saying what we say because the truth of the matter is, I mean, okay, if we found a woman that aligns with our beliefs and she understood our personality, she understood who we are, and she is willing to deal with that, okay, cool, great. But if we don't find a woman that's willing to deal with all that, then it is what it is. Life goes on. And what we're really saying is we're not gonna go out here and crash out because we can't find that special someone. We're going to just accept things for what they are and just continue on with our life. That's really what we're saying. And as far as making friends, now uh, I would say that even as a introvert, which I am very much an introvert, I still think it's important to have one or two friends that live within an hour of where you currently reside. Now, do I got close friends that live close to me? No, I don't. I don't have no friends here in Alabama whatsoever. I'm gonna just keep it real. I don't. I mean, I don't really, the only place I go to where I have a chance to socialize with other people is my job. But given the kind of person that I am, when I go to work, my attitude is I'm there to work. I do my job, and okay, I might talk here and there, but for the most part, I do my job. So I don't really put no effort into making friends at work. It's just not anything it's not anything I do. It's just not. It's not who I am. And of course, as far as dating a woman who I work with, I did that in the past, and and whenever things didn't go so well, it made the workday awkward. So I try to refrain from dating a woman who I work with for that reason. And outside of work, I mean, the only other place I go to where I can socialize is at the grocery store, which a lot of times, even then, I mean, in most cases, I go in, I get my groceries, and I check out and I leave. Every so often, I might run into lady, and we might chop it up and have some conversation, exchange phone numbers, and then it do what it do. But recently, I really haven't had my mind on dating. My mind has been on doing other stuff that takes priority over dating. And I think for a lot of us men who are introverts, that's another thing. I mean, as we get older, there are certain things that we got to do, such as planning for our retirement. And there's some men that are introverts that maybe they were married, maybe they do have a family, and maybe they're trying to catch up on their child support. So they really don't have time to date. They may not have the money to date. So that could be another reason why some men are good with being single. Because they understand that most women in this day and age are not going to want to date a man that ain't got no damn money. Let's just be real. And let's see what else. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and say some of the quiet parts out loud. I just, you know, I just wanted to clarify what many of us truly mean and what we're truly saying when we say that we're good with having no friends or we're good with being single, being by ourselves. Well, before I go, I want to touch a little bit more on that whole friendship deal. Now, as far as the whole friendship deal, now for us introvert, now for some of the introverts out here who may have left the city life, maybe they moved somewhere out in the country. Now, for those that are within an hour or two of the city, those men, they probably still have their friends and they still talk and see each other on a regular basis because they're close enough to each other to where they can do that. But for men like myself who picked up and left, like me, I grew up in the Midwest. I lived in Indiana for over 12 years. I left the Midwest and I came here to Alabama, basically on the other side of the country. So, with that being said, I don't have any friends here in Alabama. And I think sometimes when you move to another state like what I did, and not only did I move to another state, but I didn't even move to a city. I moved somewhere in a rural community. So with that type of a setup, it's gonna make it a little harder for me to make friends, and it's gonna make it a little harder for me to date. And I understand that. I mean, it is what it is. So I know for me, when it comes to making friends, again, if I make some friends, wonderful, great, and hopefully one day I do. Because I think if I did, it will make my life a little more enjoyable here in Alabama. Not that I don't enjoy my life as it is, but I'm just saying. But it's one of them type of situations where it is what it is. I mean, rather I meet people here and make friends, or I don't, life is got to still go on, and I still have to find other ways to be happy, which, you know, I have no problem doing. So that's all I got for this video. Again, I just wanted to say some of the quiet parts out loud when it comes to how many of us introverts think. Stay blessed. Catch you guys on the next one.